evening and welcome to the October 12th, 2021 Northern Lebanon School District meeting. I can now call this meeting to order. Thank you for joining us this evening. This meeting is being recorded. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence led by Director Klein. Mrs. Martin, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
Gray,
Here.
Erdman.
Here.
Fowler.
Here.
Marlowe.
Here.
Murray. Here. Klein.
Here.
Pollock. Here. Nom.
Here.
Bucks.
here.
All members present.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. We move on to item 3, that is the presentation portion of the evening. The high school students of the month for October are Delaney Dyer and Rachel Swank. This award is sponsored jointly by the Fredericksburg and Jonestown Lions Club, and each recipient will be recognized at a future meeting of the Lions Club. The middle school student of the month for October is Caden Beamsturfer. This award is sponsored by the Northern Lebanon County Rotary Club, and each recipient will be recognized at a future meeting of the Rotary Club. Congratulations to all of those students. Our student board representative, Kim Hagareda, unfortunately could not be here this evening. And we do have a recognition for merit scholarship. Dr. Messinger.
Yeah, we wanted to recognize Luke Dredge. Luke, wave. I'm going to have you talk in a second, put you on the spot. But Luke was recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation as a commended student in the 2022 National Merit Scholarship Program. I just want to read an excerpt from the letter that we received. About 34,000 commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. Those being named commended students have demonstrated outstanding potential for academic success. These students represent a valuable national resource, recognizing their accomplishments as well as the key role their schools play in their academic development is vital to the advancement of educational excellence in our nation. We hope that this recognition will help broaden their educational opportunities and encourage them as they continue their pursuit of academic success. Luke, I just wanted to recognize you. It's quite an honor to be recognized by them. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, I know where you're going, but if you want to share your college plans with the board. All right. And did you hear anything about that 3-2 program? I know you applied. Not yet. Okay. He applied to that I guess only a few people get into, but you applied for a program there to get done a little early, I guess. Is that right? Okay. Well, congratulations. You've done a fantastic job here at Northern Lebanon. We wish you the best as you go to Lock Haven. I'd love to be able, Director Bucks, to put his name in the agenda and recognize him in the minutes.
Absolutely.
And Luke, I will tell you that you are welcome to stay for the meeting, but you are also welcome. But I should have asked, did your dad get good grades like you did? It's good to see you too. But you're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to take off if you have other things to do. So thank you for coming tonight so we could recognize you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Luke. Next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Yeah, a couple of things to report tonight. First, wanted to update you on a new club at the high school level that's being started. appreciate the students that wanted to do this, and then also faculty advisor willingness to do it, but a random acts of kindness club. And I'm excited to see what they come up with and some of the things that they do, but that'll be starting up soon. Wanted to update you on the construction. Next month, we should be presenting a bid going out to bid on phase 2 and getting approval to do that on the athletic constructions. If you haven't seen it, they are working daily across the street and making progress there. We continue, we're going to be doing a study at the high school, middle school to take a look at some of the improvements that need made there and then come back and talk about that. They're breaking down the different pieces in sort of a menu along with the associated costs. So we have an idea there of what we can get accomplished down the road. And then finally, Pat over here has a report from our realtor on the house over at Jonestown, which is now open and empty with some options for us that you can look at. We'll have it with her for the next 30 days, and then we can make a decision as to how we want to move forward, either with selling that property or renting that property. But you can take a look at that. She has it available to you at any point. So that's the end of my report for tonight.
Thank you. Is there any old business for discussion this evening? Then we move on to item 6, that is our public comment session. Those wishing to make public comment were asked to submit that request by 4 o'clock this evening via email or online form. Tonight, we have 3 public comment requests. When you are called, please state your name and address before speaking, and you will have 4 minutes for public comment. Our first speaker is Ms. Kimberly Bolts.
Good evening, Kimberly Bolts again, 216 West Market Street. I'll be pretty quick tonight. I've already spoken a couple of times and listened to my fellow community members voice their concerns. And quite frankly, I kind of feel like we're talking to this brick wall over here. On November 10th, 1999, almost 22 years ago, I took an oath when I enlisted in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. I swore an oath that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And then I swore an oath to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that I would do the same for the state in which I reside. The National Guard, when we swear in, we take 2 oaths, one to the nation and one to the state. In 2004, I upheld that oath when I deployed to the Middle East in defense of the United States against foreign enemies. And again, from 2012 to 2013, and one more time from 2015 to 2016. It's 3 combat deployments to the Middle East. And now I'm standing here to defend the citizens and our children in Pennsylvania from their domestic enemies within our own state and the United States. This isn't just about taking a shot or wearing a mask. This is a fight for our freedoms that our founding fathers predicted we would be going through. And if you think the end goal isn't to just take away every God-given freedom and liberty that we have under the US Constitution, then you're only lying to yourselves. The United States Constitution begins with we the people, not we the government. Board members are elected to represent the people, not cave to the tyranny and scare tactics of the government. It's the job to stand up against the government overreach and represent the people. And if that can't be done, then somebody else needs to be in those seats. And with that said, with the full support and endorsement from Northern Lebanon Parents for Kids' Rights and Moms for Liberty Lebanon chapter, I'm officially announcing my candidacy for the school board. I will always believe that everyone has a place, was placed on this earth for a reason. After all these years, I still keep in touch with my recruiter, and he recently told me, I will always remember your steadfast desire to serve. As a recruiter, you were a dream enlistment. I just want to serve my country. And it still stands true today. So if you ever wonder why I'm so passionate about the Constitution, this is why. It's because I've buried friends, my sisters and brothers under that flag, and that's why it's so important to me. So whether it's serving my country in the military or representing my community in Little Northern Lebanon School District as a parent, I believe my calling on this earth is to serve in some capacity. And until my last breath, I will continue to fight and do whatever I can within my means so that my children can continue to live in a free country long after I'm gone. Most people don't appreciate how great America is because most people have never left America. And I can tell you firsthand that we've got it made here. So if you want more freedom, less government control, and less taxes, I'm your girl.
For your comments, Ms. Bolt. Our next speaker is Ms. Martha Blau. Blau, please state your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Martha Blau, 112 Racehorse Drive, Jonestown. Last Tuesday, we had a committee meeting, and I did my due diligence and looked up the meeting minutes and printed out the PDFs that were there, and I couldn't attend, so I attended on Zoom, and I was all ready to hear what everyone needed to discuss, and to my surprise, it was over and done with in 12 minutes. And I was a little disappointed at that. I don't feel like you're being very transparent when we say, okay, is everybody here? Yep, let's vote on 1 to 9. Everybody good? All right, let's dismiss. And that's pretty much what it was. There was nothing discussed. And then when I saw tonight, some of these issues are going to be voted on, I feel like I need to read out what some of these are. There is a section on child abuse policy on here. There were some changes to policy 204 and maybe 236.1, but there's no changes to policy 806. And I want to read what that says. Since you're voting on this tonight on the consent agenda, this is what you're voting on. You're voting that the board requires district employees, independent contractors, and volunteers to comply with identification and reporting requirements for suspected child abuse. And it goes on to list the definition. There's several definitions, but it says the definition of child abuse is intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly doing. And then if you jump down to 8E, it's interfering with the breathing of a child. So again, if you're voting on this agenda tonight in the affirmative, this is what you're voting on. The definition of child abuse is intentionally, knowingly, recklessly interfering with the breathing of a child. And the board requires district employees, independent contractors, and volunteers to comply with identification and reporting requirements for suspected child abuse. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Blau. Our last request to speak this evening is Ms. Chava Yurkonis. Ms. Yurkonis, please state your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
My name is Chava Yurkonis, 78 Sweetbriar Lane, Lebanon. I came here this evening to thank you guys. I have learned a very harsh lesson coming to school board meetings. I was never one to attend school board meetings ever until it involved the well-being of my child who attends here. And I've learned a very harsh lesson that school board members, superintendents, teachers, a solicitor who's on her phone half the time don't really have my son's best interests at heart like I do. Government certainly doesn't, doctors don't, because they all bail on us. They don't give us parents the autonomy to take care of our children the way we see fit. I remember the day of 6th grade orientation, our kids got a speech of how they need to learn to advocate for themselves. Well, I will speak for my child. He has learned very quickly how to advocate for himself, especially with this whole math situation. He learned it very quickly and at a very young age, which is, it's a good thing, but it's also sad they have to learn this so quickly. And I will speak for myself as a parent. I have been asleep at the wheel for way too long, giving you guys the freedom to do what's best for my child. I think all of us parents have, but I will be the first to admit I'm the one in the wrong for that, for allowing you guys the power to have my son's best interest at heart when you say you do, but so far your actions have proven otherwise. That's all.
For comments, Ms. Yurkonis. The minutes shall note that public notice was given for the meeting in accordance with Act 84 of 1986. Now we move on to item 8, that is items on the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve items 8.1 through 8.9 on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second? Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Now we move on to item 9. These are items for board action, but they are discussion items for this evening. Dr. Messinger?
Yeah, I'll start with 9.1 under budget and finance. That is a personnel agreement to help us with some open custodial positions in terms of finding substitutes. I want to be clear that those are for temporary placements until we can find permanent people, so that we are not continuing to ask people to work an entire day shift and then work an entire night shift or part of a night shift to accomplish the cleaning that needs to be done. I do want to note on there that the form that we have is a PDF and we could not edit it, but there were some changes from stock and leader. Those are attached. The SOS group has to edit it, so we will not ask Director Bucks to sign until we receive the revised PDF with the language that stock and leader provided for us. So it will actually have those changes that are in there. Item 9.2. We have an 11th grader. Is Sarah here tonight? There's Sarah. We have an 11th grader who has accomplished everything she needs for graduation and is going to be graduating early this June and taking care of all her academic things. And Dr. Ebert presented her for graduation to be approved tonight. In terms of 9.3, we have several resignations, and we also have 2 employments. Wanted to recognize Mr. Umberger, who's in the audience with us. Thank you for joining us tonight, Mr. Umberger, who will be serving as elementary principal. And then in addition to that, we had a revision to the classified employee manual that I talked to you about. So I sent information about. There were some things that we had done through memo years ago that in order to make it official, I felt it should be in the employee manual rather than just a memo sitting with Mrs. Martin. So I put that in there so that it would be in the handbook. And those are our items for vote tonight.
Are there any questions about any of those items? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve items 9.1 through 9.3 as presented?
So moved.
May I have a second? Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. Item 10 is a couple informational items. Dr. Messinger?
Yeah, I just officially wanted to list those. The one is about the study for the high school, middle school that Crabtree is going to be looking at that next phase. And then also what I mentioned about the comparative market analysis that Pat will have for you to look at anytime you'd like in the next till our next meeting.
Are there any questions on those? All right, we move to item 11. That is our reports from representatives. First up is our change order committee, but our change order committee did not have to meet over the past month, so there would be nothing to report there. Item 2 is our career and technology representative, Director Klein.
Yeah, I got one thing to report on tonight. The CTC is changing 2 of their half-day programs to full-day programs. And that's health careers and the physical therapy. One of the main reasons they're doing it is recruiting. Some of the CTC talked to the guidance counselors and they just thought this would be a way to kind of fill some of those seats. I know there is some negatives to this change. Mr. Marlowe attended that one meeting. They didn't give much notice. It's one thing that the CTC board did ask the administration to do next time around is to kind of plan more than 1 year out. Cause I know there's some kids that wanted to take this program last year and kind of built their schedule. And this change kind of interrupts that. So next time around, we asked the CTC if they would go ahead and kind of plan 2 years in advance for these changes as opposed to just 1. That's all I have.
Thank you for that report. May I ask, did they consider giving an option to students? Like that they may choose half day or choose full day?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was at the meeting. It is it has to be one or the other just because of classrooms, transportation, et cetera. But to piggyback on Director Klein, the challenge with the 1 year is there's students that have been maybe for a few years, this has been their plan. So they're getting their curriculum here set up. And now next year's plan, which was I'm doing this and then I'm going off to my next step, that's disrupted. They likely can't take it because as they move to the new program, they will miss out because you can no longer complete it under the new situation. So I don't know what will happen to our students that have been walking through that, but I agree. I mean, I think from a guidance counselor standpoint, the guidance counselors need to know about it 2 years, maybe plus in advance, because kids start their high school academic career with something like that in mind, and now that's disrupted. So yeah, I think it needs a little more foresight next time.
Thank you. Our next report is from our intermediate unit representative, Director Murray.
I have no report.
Thanks. And then we have our legislative PSBA liaison, Director Sakella.
I would just recommend any board member willing to reach out to our PSBA representative and find out how they can help with getting information out there about cyber school funding for public schools and getting some reform on that. They're really kind of pushing hard. And I think any support they can get from local school boards, we all know how hard of a hit we take, and with them not being held to the same standards and mandates that we are, it's really not an even scale. So that would be my recommendation going into the future.
Thank you. Is there any new business for discussion this evening?
I had something for either Dr. Messinger or Mrs. Say, probably Mrs. Say. Last month, we were made aware of 3 court cases that I guess there were 3 districts in the state of Pennsylvania that were fighting the mask mandate. And I know we got some material to read. I think there were a few of the cases were tried already, or whatever you call it. So could you just kind of explain to the board and especially the public if they might not have been privy to that information, just to let us know how those cases are going?
Yeah, I'm happy to update. So there were 2 significant cases. One, I think both of them came in just the very end of October. One was, they were both in the federal courts. So they start in what's called a district court. There are 3 of those in Pennsylvania, the Western, the Eastern, and the Middle. The Eastern District issued an opinion upholding a district's masking requirements and not recognizing religious exemptions that were filed by parents in that case. So the school district was successful and the parents were not successful. In the Middle District case, the school district was defending against parents who were arguing that they had a property and liberty right over their children, and such that school districts did not have the authority to issue and enforce their own masking mandates. It was a case that the board officially voted to approve and authorize enforcement of the masking after the Department of Health's own order was issued. So while the court did not rule on the validity of that order, because they don't have jurisdiction over that issue because that's a state-based issue, they did indicate that a school district did have the right and ability to, while they're supervising students, to enforce masking and to require masking, and that did not infringe on a parent's constitutional rights. The big case that still was outstanding is that in the Commonwealth Court, it's by the name of Corman. There are a number of individual plaintiffs that are listed there that are parents and families from a variety of different educational situations. There were 3 school districts that filed to be a party along with those plaintiff parents and students, and it is against the acting secretary of health. In that particular case, they have submitted briefing at a summary judgment stage, which is assuming the facts are agreed upon. They're looking for a legal ruling. That case is positioned as injunctive relief, which is considered emergency relief. The standard is very high relative to emergency relief. And they're going to be receiving arguments, I believe, on October 20th, unless it gets pushed back, where the parties will argue about the merits of the case. I would speculate that a decision might be issued within 2 weeks of that date, but we don't have anything definitive. And again, that would only be an order issued on the emergency relief that's requested. And the plaintiffs in that matter would have to show a level of irreparable harm. There were 2 school districts that filed what's called an amicus or amicus brief, which means friend of the court brief in that matter, essentially advocating on behalf of schools, not relative to the legal position that's being taken in that matter, not saying the order is valid or not valid, but advocating on behalf of basically all schools that the order, its timing, our ability to prepare, our ability to roll it out and enforce it has been nothing but difficult. And so there is a voice in that litigation that is just saying, please give consideration to the plight of school districts. The 3 school districts that joined the plaintiffs, the court capped the number of school districts that could join. Of course, one of those ongoing issues is whether those school districts even have standing to sue a fellow government agency, which is a big consideration in the case. And that's probably why they limited those who could join the matter. So we're all anxiously awaiting what might happen at the end of October, but there's certainly no promises from the court. And there are a number of other legal cases sort of floating around the Commonwealth. On one of the issues that was raised in public comment, there was also an official opinion issued from, I think, PDE as well as the Department of Health and the agency that oversees child abuse reporting, which officially indicated that it's the position of that department that reports of child abuse based upon masking are not being recognized as child abuse in the Commonwealth under the agency that governs that particular statute. So just for points of order, and I sent a copy of that opinion to you, Dr. Bucks, so the board can see that if they have any questions. So that's the legal update.
Thank you for asking that question, Dr. Ehrman, and thank you for your excellent explanation.
Yeah.
Is there any other new business for discussion this evening? I'd like to point out that our next school board meeting, that is a committee meeting, that will be held on Monday, November 1st, because Tuesday is election day. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is a unanimous roll call vote. Your vote will be recorded in the affirmative unless you say nay or I abstain. The motion has passed. This meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening, everyone.